once we get through some of the group promo organizing questions, you have other questions about other stuff, we can get to that too. So that's the perk for you guys, I suppose. So joining me today, of course, are Emma and Kelly, two of our other author support specialists. They will be in the chat with you all while I'm going through the presentation here. So if there are any questions during that, they might address some of those, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to get to them in the Q&A. Emma, I'll thank you. I should, by the way, and where's Kelly too? Kelly, are you there? I'm going to ask you both to unmute for a second. Today, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but is today the 1 year? Is it today that's the 1 year anniversary of you guys working for BookFunnel?
Yeah,
Is it?
I
That's what
believe so. Yeah, I think
I believe it was June 12th,
yep.
2023 that both Kelly and Emma started. And so I just want to say
Cry.
whatever you say on a 1 year anniversary of being coworkers. I don't know what you would say. But you guys are a great addition to the team. I'm glad to have you both here with me today.
Aw.
And you guys have been
Oranges rule, lemons drool.
what was that?
Oranges rule, lemons
Oh.
drool.
Yes, but so yeah, you guys have been a big part of it. I don't want to take too much time away from. Maybe we'll talk a bit more about this in the Q&A, but I just wanted to say that first before we got to anything today. Thank you both for being here and being here for the last year too, and putting up with me, and also making sure I kept my job because you make me look good and all that stuff. So, everything that goes along with that. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And then you guys can come back in the Q&A and I'll embarrass you some more then. So sound good?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it though. Let's get to it. So we're going to cover some of the perks of hosting a group promo yourself. If you haven't done one before, maybe this is something you're thinking about. We're going to talk about selecting your genre, subgenre, niche for your promos. This is some important stuff when you're hosting a group promo. Really, the success of your promo largely depends on this, the genre or subgenre you select. We'll talk about promo graphics as well, and just kind of keep a simple mindset in that regard. We want to keep promo graphics easy. You don't need to be a graphic designer or anything like that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're going to talk, of course, about moderating your group promos, and this is probably the part that folks might be worried about if they haven't hosted a group promo before. What is it when you have to remove somebody from your promo and the potential drama and all that, and we'll talk about that. And then we will jump to the dashboard for a little bit today to show some of the stuff about posting a promo and kind of go over that process as well. Right. So first off, what are the perks of hosting a group promo, right? And so the difference between hosting and participating is you get to make all the decisions, right? Right. So there's obviously going to be some perks. So first off, you get to determine the genre or niche of the promo that you're hosting. So if you don't see enough opportunities in your genre or your niche on the BookFunnel promos board, right? What we say is be the promo organizer you want to see in the world, right? If there's a promo that you wish was on the dashboard and you haven't been able to find it for your specific subgenre or niche, and there are authors out there who would be looking for it, sometimes it just takes one person to organize that promo to then get other authors to jump on board. If you are in a smaller genre or niche, sometimes this means it might just be you and a small band of authors at first. But if you're consistent and you organize these promos consistently, right, authors will, over time, kind of flock to them. It's going to vary from genre to genre, subgenre to subgenre, and from one niche to the next. And so I do also want to set expectations that you don't necessarily want to go too narrow. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you do see there's a gap in the promos that are available, you can have control over that. Also, keep in mind, you do not have to post strictly within the genres and subgenres that BookFunnel makes available. So if there is a subgenre that right now BookFunnel doesn't have as an option. First of all, you can always let us know, and we do add new options frequently. But if you don't see one there as an option, you can make a promo for that subgenre or that niche, even if it's not an official BookFunnel subgenre, right? And we'll kind of talk about some ways that you can communicate that to potential authors. Will be the best way to go about sharing that information with them and making it clear like what the promo is for. So you also get to host promos on your schedule. This is also a big perk. So if you prefer that your promos start on a certain date, or you always like promos to maybe they're a month long, but maybe you like them to go like start a couple days before and end a few days after, right? The beginning or end of the month, whatever it happens to be, or there's a specific length you're looking for. You get to pick the dates. You get to select all that when you set up your promo and when you're hosting it. And so this can work really well if you know that, for example, you've got a vacation coming up and you really don't want to, you really don't want to be joining promos during that date, or you don't want any promos that are starting, around that date. You can schedule around that. You can include the books you want as well. When you're hosting a promo, you have, as the organizer, the kind of the final decision in most cases, right? As long as you're being reasonable, right? What books can be included and which books are not a good match, right? So if you've ever been in a promo, and this has happened to me before, I've joined a promo. I'm a science fiction author myself, so I'm just giving an example of what I've seen. This can happen in any genre, right? So I'm not picking on a specific genre or anything like that, but I've seen before where I've joined promos that were for science fiction and fantasy, and the organizer has allowed in some romance books into that promo, whether they did it on purpose or, whatever it happens to be. Sometimes there's even organizers who that's what they were going to allow in the first place, but maybe I don't find that's a good fit. Again, it might also be just a subgenre issue. Maybe you joined a promo for your specific subgenre and you've seen that organizers have allowed other subgenres in there. I know that can be a big thing, especially if you're writing in a specific subgenre that has a specific audience, right? So when you're the organizer, you have control over that, right? Now, don't let all the power go to your head, right? But understand that, yeah, you would have the ability to accept or reject the books that are submitted to the promos that you host. And so that gives you some element of control over that, especially if you've encountered that in the past. And it's a problem that will face different genres in different ways too. I know for myself in the science fiction and fantasy genres, the main issue is uh, keeping romance separate from science fiction and fantasy that's not focused on romance. That's the main thing. But then in romance, there are other issues, mainly about subgenres that are not really, don't have the same audience, and authors who are technically both writing romance, but to a different audience, submitting to promos where their book doesn't belong. So as the organizer, as I've already said, you have control over which books are in the promo and which aren't. Promo graphics and customization. So if you like your promos to look a certain way, or maybe you do have a little bit of an artistic, skill set, and you want to show that off or what have you, or you just want to have some control over how books are featured in your promos, because you do have some options. You have control over that as well. And so this is a perk that you have as the promo organizer. This means that you can control what graphics are used for the promo, like the banner image. Of course, some authors may share the banner image, some may not. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't have absolute control, but you can kind of customize how the promo page looks. Also, when we're talking about the featured books, you have control over what order the books will appear on that page. This does mean that, yes, you could put your books at the very top so that they appear at the top of your promos. That is something that you can do, and in many cases, as an organizer, you should do, right? You're going the extra mile to host those promos, so don't feel guilty about it, right? Putting your books at the top, but you may also want to feature other authors' books. For example, if they've produced the most clicks, right? In the promo, perhaps you want to feature them at the top for a week or so, or whatever scheme. Maybe you want to arrange them in a certain way. You have control over that. So those are just a few of the perks. There are definitely more. This isn't an exhaustive list, but if you've been thinking about it, yeah, these are some of the things that you have access to. Now, selecting your genre for your promo, this is going to be big. This is really going to make or break your promo, in my opinion. There's a few other things that are kind of like this too, but I think the thing I want to get across first is that you want to cast a wide net, as wide a net as possible. What makes promos successful at the end of the day, from all the data that we've seen and everything that we see on the BookFunnel dashboard, is the number of authors that are participating. The more authors that participate, they bring their audiences with them. And those audiences, that's more readers. And so even if there are some authors that maybe they fail to share that promo with their newsletter, or maybe there are some books that are varying in quality, right? You might say maybe there's some books that like look really professional and have very high quality covers, and then there's a few that, in your opinion as the organizer, again, we're not here to shame anybody, but maybe you'd say that there's some of those books included in the promo that don't have quite as hot, don't have that professional appearance. As long as they're not unprofessional, right? There's a number of ways that you could, even if we're talking about genre, maybe they're on the edge of that genre or subgenre. If possible, you want to keep them in. Now, sometimes you can't, right? Again, if your promo is in a specific genre or subgenre and they are outside of that genre, that's different. But the wider net that you cast, the more authors that will participate and the more successful that promo is going to be, right? So as much as you can, cast a wide net. You do want to exclude genres, though. And right now on the BookFunnel dashboard, you have the ability to select 3 genres or subgenres to include. We want to give authors the ability in the near future, organizers, to have a way to explicitly exclude genres, but you can still do this. You can still do this in your note, your organizer's note that you can add to your promo. We'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. And you can say that there are specific genres or subgenres that are excluded and are not intended to be added to the promo. You want to be proactive in removing these books that aren't a good fit, but know that you can remove them at any time. So if the promo has already started and then you realize that there's a book that was not a good fit and it's outside of the genre guidelines that you gave, you can still and should still remove that book from the promo. Right? Don't feel guilty about it. Don't worry about it. You're not really going to get that other author in massive trouble. It's not the end of the world. So don't worry about it. They should be removed. This also contributes to the health of the promo too, and really the overall success of the promo. And again, as a science fiction author, this is my, I'll give an example here of this, but again, this is from my perspective and it's going to be different for each genre. But as a science fiction author, I've been in promos before with science fiction and fantasy that have allowed some romance to either sneak in there or it was allowed. And what I did notice was that, well, there were more authors, and so my list grew, but maybe it grew even a little bit more. But what I found, and it took a while to realize this, was that those readers that I got from those promos, largely, if they came from one of those authors that was in a different genre from my own, they were not my target readers. And so while they were subscribers on my list and that made my numbers look good and it seemed like it was a more successful promo, they were not my target readers. And in fact, they did not like my book. Right? For some very specific reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. They did not like my book. They were not the target audience of my book. And that created confusion. And it's not that it's anybody's fault. The organizer can set up the promo however they want. I no longer join promos that are like that at this point. When I do join a promo, even us admins join promos that other authors run. I do look at the other books, and even if the organizer has said, "Oh, this isn't allowed or that isn't allowed," sometimes it does get included anyway. Because sometimes things slip through the cracks. So what I suggest you do if you are an organizer, you're probably going to be organizing your promos ahead of time. This is totally fine. You're going to allow submissions to come through, and then make sure that at least once before the promo starts, and sometimes this means it has to be kind of like the day before the promo starts or 2 days before, go in and check on those books and remove the ones that are clearly not a good fit. Right? And I actually will do this every Friday. I check up on all my promos, even the ones that are active, because sometimes things slip through the cracks. You're human, right? And so you're going to miss things sometimes. But I recommend being proactive about it. You don't need to obsess over it. This doesn't need to be a huge time suck where you're, spending hours each day moderating your promos. But if once a week you have a specific time that you come in there and you check on all of your promos to make sure everything's going well, it can take you 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes or something like that just to go through that while you're doing your other work with your promos, I think is a good idea. And that's what I would recommend. That way you're being proactive about it. And because ideally you would want those books to be removed before the promo starts. That would be ideal. So some things we want to avoid when we're selecting genres. You want to avoid genre stuffing. And so this would be adding larger genres that are not relevant or subgenres that aren't relevant to the promo's target audience, simply because it is going to get more authors to participate. Again, if they are not the target authors or they're not, right? So for an example, again, I'm going to have to use sci-fi here as an example. Let's say you are posting a sci-fi romance promo or a science fiction romance promo. I would select the relevant genres under the major genre of romance, and I would avoid selecting science fiction at the major genre of science fiction itself. That would be, in that case, my recommendation, because science fiction authors have a different audience. So you want to think about what the audience is. Right. Another way to look at this that it's not necessarily genre. If we're talking about a sales promo, what if you're running an Amazon only promo or a promo that's intended for KU books, right? You wouldn't want to allow wide authors in that promo necessarily, or vice versa. If it's a wide promo, you wouldn't want KU authors in there. And it's not anything against those authors or their books. It's nothing like that. It's just that what's the target audience, right? And who are the readers that you are aiming for? Ideally, all of the authors in a promo, their readers should overlap with each other for the most part in terms of their interests and what they are looking for in a book. Readers will have eclectic interests, of course, that's always going to be the case. But when they're showing up to a science fiction romance promo, they should be expecting science fiction romance. If they're showing up to a cozy mystery promo, they should be getting cozy mystery. If they're getting something adjacent to that, sometimes that can cause issues. And so if you're genre stuffing and you're just putting in genres because you think it's going to get more authors in there, it will, but it's not going to create the results that you ultimately want. You also want to avoid getting too niche with subgenres that you select. This is something that I see from time to time. Sometimes very narrow niches do have a large number of authors, but sometimes they don't. And so if your niche fits in a larger subgenre, it might be better to focus your promos around that larger subgenre and allow some authors in there that are not going to be in your exact niche, but maybe something close to it, again, within that subgenre. So again, this goes back to casting a wide net. If you are looking for specifically cozy mysteries where the main character has a cat and like all these other specifics, like I'm trying to think, these are things I've seen before for author and authors organizers are brave and they go out there and they try new things, and sometimes they don't always work, and that's great. I'm not discouraging it. You should go out there and try stuff, but just know that if you make it really super niche, like you have, like, these are all the conditions that your book has to have in order to join this promo, authors are going to see it and their book is not going to meet one of those conditions and they're not going to join. Or again, if that niche is just not very highly represented among BookFunnel authors, there's not going to be as many authors participating. And if there's fewer authors, there's fewer readers. And so that's going to affect the success and the effectiveness of your promo ultimately. So that's why I say selecting your genre and your subgenre is probably the biggest factor to determine the success of your promos that you're organizing. Because what can happen if you cast your net too wide is, well, there's going to be, the numbers are going to look good. There's going to be lots of authors, right? And authors are probably going to see that they're getting more subscribers, maybe even more than usual, because they're being exposed to a different audience, but those audiences don't match. And those consequences, you don't notice them right away, but this can result in negative reviews on your books. This can result in all sorts of things if those aren't your target readers. And then the opposite of that, if your net is too small and too narrow, you're not going to catch anything. You just might not have any authors join your promo at all. That can happen, right? Out there. And to be frank and be honest, I try those experiments all the time, right? I might even show one of those experiments that I'm doing where I think my most recent one only got 3 authors to participate in it. But it was worth experimenting and seeing if it would work, right? Just know, have the correct expectations. So group promo graphics. Graphics don't need to be over the top, right? We have a few examples here. These are really pretty simple, right? A genre-related background image is usually good. These, I believe, all are Emma's designs here on these. So she did a great job with these. Emma does our BookFunnel hosted promos as well. And so she makes all the graphics for those. And so you can see here, we've just got like the headline or the title of the promo, whatever it happens to be, a few of the covers from the promo included there. And then, and that's pretty much it. Here we've got a cat, right? Which cozy mysteries and cats go hand in hand, I guess, is from what I understand. I'm not a cozy mystery author. But this sort of thing is just fine, right? These are perfectly fine. This kind of thing. Canva or other similar tools out there. BookBrush is another example of a tool that you could use for this purpose. Makes it really easy. And I can even, if folks want to, I can open up Canva later during the Q&A and show you some ways to make these promo graphics. Because it's pretty simple. They have a lot of stock photos and images that you would need, even things that are just kind of like background images that you can very easily add, and then put the book covers in front of that. And this usually turns out pretty well. The book covers are probably going to be the most enticing thing to readers. If you don't have book covers on the image, that can still work if you've got a really strong image that you're using for the banner. But when you have those book covers, they're eye-catching, right? Readers look for book covers, right? And so they're going to be looking through that 4 or 5 that you're showing on the banner image, and they're going to see, oh, that one looks really interesting to me. So you might, as the organizer, pull kind of what, in your opinion, are some of the best looking covers in that promo and put those on the banner image as a way of grabbing readers' attention. Ultimately, readers are looking for books. And so if you put the books on the header image, the banner image, it makes sense that it's going to catch their eye, right? And they're more likely to then click on it. That's going to contribute to the success of your promo as well. Now, does a promo need a banner image or a header image? I realize I might be answering a question that nobody's asking. They don't. It is not an absolute must. Authors that are participating might kind of expect it. And so if you don't upload a banner image, you might get some emails from authors being like, hey, when are you going to upload the banner image? They might be relying on that to share that with their newsletter. And that's fine. You don't have to, but understand that it adds just it adds an additional element to them. And you can even reuse the same ones. So if you want to keep things simple and you just want to create one type of image, and maybe you're doing a promo that you're going to repeatedly host each month, you can keep using that same one, and that's not a problem, right? That's not a problem either. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can keep it simple. You don't have to go over the top or anything like that. Now, group promo moderation. We've talked a little bit about this already in a sense when we're talking about like genres and things like that, but it's important to note that BookFunnel relies on the organizers in order to really help moderate these promos. It's a team effort, right? So you guys as the organizers play a big role in this. There's lots of promos on the promos board. And we could, as BookFunnel admins, we could spend a lot of time each day combing through each promo and seeing, what the participation is and, and so forth. But ultimately, we do rely on organizers to report issues to us. And then also just manage and keep these promos, running in an orderly fashion. So props to promo organizers. First of all, you guys make it possible, but we also do need your help when there's issues and things like that. And you should know also, like, there comes a time where sometimes BookFunnel might need to step in on certain things, and that's fine. We're more than happy to. So you do have the ability, if we're talking about moderation tools, you do have the ability to keep authors in a waiting room, essentially. I'll show you where you can find this on the dashboard in a little bit. This allows you to set a limit on, or I guess I should say, kind of a threshold. And authors that are below that threshold in terms of their average clicks and the number of promos they've participated in, they get put into a waiting room. And so they're not automatically in the promo. You have to then approve them, but it does give you the ability to kind of have them in waiting so that you're not having to necessarily remove them from the promo. You're just approving or declining their submission. If you don't have this on, they will just join the promo. You can still remove them, but it sometimes that might be what you want to do, is have them be in the waiting room first. Kind of up to you. You should set requirements for book content, covers, mailing list size. Some of these options, BookFunnel gives you a specific place to put those things in there, like mailing list size. There's a field where you can put in a number, right? But if you say like, there's also like, you may not want to allow sexually suggestive book covers. We have a toggle for that, but maybe you want to also kind of define or communicate what you consider to be sexually suggestive, which does vary from genre to genre. Believe it or not, as a science fiction author myself, there are book covers that are sexually suggestive in science fiction that would be considered sexually suggestive outside of that, which are kind of just like, oh well, whatever. It's not this sort of thing, right? It's one of those you know it when you see it sort of things, and that's different from genre to genre and different audiences and so forth. So you may want to communicate some of your expectations, right? Or for the book content, again, for example, are you looking for a specific subgenre? Does there need to be a specific element in the content of the book, right? Whatever it happens to be, right? Maybe your promo is specifically for World War II related fiction, right? So we need to have elements of World War II in there. We're not talking about Vietnam, nothing against Vietnam novels, but right, we're specifically talking about that era. That's just another example, whatever it might happen to be in your case, right? The click average, you can set a minimum click average that you expect for participants in order to be able to join the promo. And those who don't meet that average will not be able to join, right? So there's a few guidelines that I know I've mentioned in the past. For example, a minimum of like 30 is what I usually say is a good score for newsletter promos, and 20 for sales promos. However, you might not want to set that as your minimum threshold where you cut people off. You might want to allow some people who are a little bit below that, right, to join in, and maybe they're still working on their score, what have you. What can happen here if you set your click average too high is you get fewer authors participating. And I actually ran an experiment on this last year where I was hosting science fiction and fantasy promos, and there were two promos side by side. In one promo, I let everybody in no matter what, even if you'd been in 100 promos and you'd never shared anything, right? Right? Your click average was literally 0. And then I did one where your click average had to be at least 100. And I would let you in if you were maybe like 90 something, right? But it had to be 100 clicks. So a pretty high average, right, for most authors. And what I found was that the participation, first of all, far fewer authors in that promo where the requirement was much higher, far fewer. But the results didn't, the results kind of scaled with each other, right? So it was like a much smaller promo. And so if it was like 10% the size of the larger promo, it got about 10% of the results, give or take. But that promo took time. It had to run a whole month. I had to include it in my newsletter. And so I might as well have just had a promo that had where I cast a wide net, and I let most authors in. And even if some authors had a lower click average than others, it was a better use of that time or that promo, if you think about it, right? Because you can really only run so many at once. It was a better use of that slot, if you will, to allow more people in. But it's up to you. You may be doing something else, right? And for some reason, you might want to control that. You can. Right? Organizers can remove books from a promo that aren't a good fit. This is going to be something, if you're going to organize promos, you are going to have to do this. It is going to happen. Don't make it personal. When you remove a book from a promo, you have to select an option as to why the book is being removed, and that is passed along to the author. You do have the ability to customize that message. And I would recommend strongly that you don't. I just recommend that you do not customize it and leave it the way it is, unless there is something, unless, for example, there's just a simple issue. There is one option where the book was like, I can't remember how we phrase it, but it's something where the author can just fix one thing real quick and then resubmit their book, right? You might want to customize that one. But if you're removing the book because it's not a good genre fit, I would just keep it very, very to the point. Either use the default message that BookFunnel provides, or just say this promo excludes this genre. You will get emails from authors when you remove their book from your promos. You do not need to email them back. That's going to be my suggestion, because it's not always constructive. Sometimes it is, and maybe they bring something to your attention that you weren't aware of. But I have found that oftentimes if it's that you remove their book because it appeared to be this certain genre, or it very clearly was, and they want to kind of argue about that, I don't recommend engaging with that sort of thing. It's not really going to help anybody. Again, it's nothing personal. I wouldn't make it personal. Just, have that book removed for the reasons that you stated, and make sure that it's in your requirements too. Right? You can block authors in cases where you feel the need to. There's a number of reasons why you might block an author. If an author is, for example, joining your promos with books that are clearly not a good fit, you can block them after you remove them so that they cannot join your promos again. Again, this isn't necessarily because you have anything personally against them. It's just that they're not the right fit for your promos, and you don't want to have to remove them every time, right? But sometimes maybe it is a personality conflict, or there is an author that you don't get along with, or something like that. Totally understandable. When you remove them, you do have the option to block them so that they cannot join your promos again. Right? Now, I recommend you use this carefully. Do not overuse this. It is something that we can remove these blocks on request. And it sometimes happens where somebody gets blocked by mistake, or maybe somebody's overzealous when they're blocking someone. Again, this is why when you remove a book, I suggest you don't make it personal. Just remove their book. If you feel the need to block them, you can. Again, don't make it personal, and just keep it simple, right? You also reporting abuse. There are some abusive behaviors that do go on in BookFunnel promos. And so if you see an author that is, for example, joining your promos with books that are clearly way out of left field and are totally miscategorized and do not belong in your promos, and they're doing this repeatedly, right? This may be something that you may want to report as abuse. You have the option to do this when the book is removed. In addition to that, if you notice an author that is not sharing their promos and you kind of see something that, like, it seems like it's a pattern, it seems like this is something that they are doing with relative consistently, you can include a note when you remove them and report this to BookFunnel, and BookFunnel will receive that report. And we do look into those. We do look into all of those abuse reports. 9 times out of 10, there's nothing fishy going on, but there are sometimes fishy things going on, and we keep tabs on those and help. Either in some cases it's an author who maybe just needs some guidance on how they're participating in promos. That's usually what it is. Maybe they didn't fully understand how promos work, and so when they're joining them, they're not understanding what they're doing, and so maybe they're joining promos that aren't a good fit, or they didn't understand how to share and they need some assistance with that, and we can definitely help them do that. And then there are some cases also, and these are rare, but where there's actual kind of malicious behavior that's going on. And so we do address that as well when it comes up, because it does, but I don't want you to be scared off by it. It's usually pretty rare, right? Organizing group promos for the most part is pretty boring, right? It's the actual, right, the promo itself that's the exciting part. The organizing part of it, don't worry, it's not like a TV drama. You're not going to be dealing with all that kind of stuff all the time. Occasionally things will come up though, right? So we will hop over to the dashboard here, and I'm going to get that all set up. But in the meantime, Emma and Kelly, if there are any questions before we get to the dashboard, we can cover those now. If anybody has them, I have to find my correct window here. Oh, here, in fact, let me stop sharing this so that I can, oops, not a new share. I want to stop sharing. There we go. Okay, good. Got it. All right.
All right.
So yeah, what do
So
people want to know? What do the folks want to know?
Well, Anne wanted to see the dashboard. She had to actually step out. She's already dropped out. But yeah, if you wanted to show the dashboard and the promos board and everything, kind of show off what we can do.
Yep, we will definitely do that. So group promos, obviously here on your dashboard, you can see all the active promos and so forth. But if we're talking about hosting promos, right, we're going to start here from the action button. This is where you post a new promo. And so this is really what we're going to go over step by step. And so we'll cover all of this here, and because some of this has changed since the last time we did this webinar. There's a couple new things in here that I do want to cover. Emma, were there any other questions that we would want to get to before we go over this, or is everything pretty much like, let's see this in action? What does the dashboard look like?
Yeah, no other questions that I'm seeing.
Okay, good deal. So, well, we're here on the dashboard and we're posting a new promo, right? So for starters, you will want to name your promo. You can name your promo kind of whatever you want. This is for authors. So the important thing here about the name of your promo is that you're communicating information to other authors. They're going to see that on the promos board. If we go back for a second here, right, that title is going to show up here. That's what you're seeing, right? Is that specific title, right, that you created. So when you post a promo, you will want to put something in here that makes sense, right? So again, if I was doing a science fiction, right, promo, I might put that here. What type of promo it is? It's a newsletter builder promo or a newsletter promo. Maybe you come up with something catchy, whatever it happens to be. Totally fine. Or maybe you want to communicate the month or something else in regards to it. Take some time to think about what it is you're going to name the promo. It's not going to be the end of the world. There's other things that are going to help authors find your promo, but sometimes the promo name is very important. From there, the promotion type. Of course, this is a newsletter promo based on how we've named it. But if we were going to do a sales promo, we could choose that option. Right. And we could also select a specific store. So if you wanted it to restrict it to Amazon, for example, then authors would have to have a link on their sales page that is specifically designated as an Amazon link. You'd have to go in the Amazon link field in order to be able to join the promo, or Apple, Barnes & Noble, Playbooks, Kobo, etc. If it's something other than these, you can just do it as a regular sales promo. Maybe you wanted to do a direct sales promo, right? For example, right? So for authors who are selling their books direct, right? That could be something that you could do as well, right? And obviously it doesn't meet one of these individual options, but that's an example where you can call the shots. You can choose. Right? So otherwise, this is not going to make too much of a big difference here in terms of, you choose the type of the promo, but otherwise the rest of this pretty much stays the same. So we'll leave it like that for now. If this is a private promo, you can check that box there. So this is where you are essentially, you just don't want this to be posted to the promos board. You want to recruit authors a different way. Totally fine to do that. Sometimes a little bit trickier to do, but if you want to keep it private, you can do so. It will not be posted to the group promos board if you check this box. So just keep that in mind. If you want it to be discoverable by authors on the promos board, I would just leave that unchecked. Now, your promotion link. So this is the link that the promo landing page is going to use. And so all those landing pages start with books.bookfunnel.com/, and then the slug is what that's called. And you get to customize that with whatever you want. And so you can use one of your existing ones. These are some examples here of if you can see this drop-down menu of links that I've created that already are saved, but you could add one. So maybe we want to do a sci-fi direct sales promo, something like that. Right, something that makes sense. No spaces can be used in here. There's maybe most symbols should be pretty basic, so you don't want to do anything crazy. But you could do something like you could do a dash or an underscore in between things. It's not. Don't worry too much about how it all looks, right? But you can set that link there. You can use the same link repeatedly for your promos, as long as they do not overlap with one another. So that's something that you should keep in mind. If your promos overlap, you may want to use different links for them. And so sometimes if I were scheduling this promo for July, for example, I might put a month at the end, right? And then I can reuse this portion and then just put a different month at the end of it, right? If I'm going to kind of reuse the same style of link. Also keep in mind that this slug has to be unique across all of BookFunnel. So that means you cannot use a slug that another author is using actively, or that is in active use. So that's an important thing as well. So if you've got a really good idea for a promo slug and you go to use it and it's already taken, it's because somebody had the same idea. Right. That doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. Also, if you're doing something if you were to do just like books.bookfunnel.com/romance or science fiction, yeah, those are most definitely taken. They most definitely are. Now the discussion link. So if you have a discussion on Facebook or somewhere else where you want to discuss aspects, of the promo, you can include that link to that spot there. Totally fine to do so. Authors have the option to go there and discuss the promo if you want to have an external discussion about it with them. Then genres. So here's where the rubber meets the road. You can select from a whole bunch of genres. And again, like I mentioned before, you'll want to try to keep things relatively narrow. So for example, if you were focusing on women's fiction, right, you might select general fiction, women's fiction. And you would want to then avoid, generally, if we go to general fiction, all subgenres you could also reasonably include that. I wouldn't consider that to be genre stuffing per se. Just know that there might be some authors that might see it and it might not be the perfect fit for them if it's specifically women's fiction. Now, if you were maybe wanting to have it be contemporary, right? There's another example. Or you could niche it down a little bit further. But the main thing is, are you specifically looking for something a book that is going to meet all three of these conditions? It's kind of how you want to think about it, right? You wouldn't want to go and grab necessarily some other subgenre that might be tangentially related but not directly. So you want to be careful, right? This is an example of some three genres that I think would probably be a good fit, but then again, I don't know because I don't write these in these subgenres. I'll give you an example of something I am familiar with. So again, from science fiction. So if I were posting a science fiction promo, I might select science fiction as one of my subgenres, right? Or really, it's a large genre. Anything science fiction is good, and that's all great, right? And so any authors who have science fiction set up under their promo settings, they'll see that this promo show up, right? Now, if I also wanted to, for example, include anything, maybe I just want to notify other authors, right? So maybe it's military sci-fi. I'm gonna, include that one. And maybe I'll include something in here like space opera, right? But I'm going to make it very clear that if you don't fit military sci-fi or space opera, you can still join this promo because I still have science fiction here. That's fine. Some authors will have military sci-fi or space opera specifically set up to receive notifications from it. So in this case, this isn't really genre stuffing. These are all related to each other. And then I would want to include, if we scroll down here, in the promo description, any other notes that I would want to communicate, right? Where you would potentially get in trouble, right? And not necessarily, if I'm going to say, action adventure, yeah, that's good. And let's throw in all subgenres of Christian and let's scroll down here a little bit and let's grab anything that's in mystery and suspense, right? This is where you would potentially run into a little bit of trouble. And what I mean by trouble is like BookFunnel's not going to hunt you down. We're not going to be like, hey, we're going to say maybe not the best choice of genres. The question would be, does your book fit all of these genres? Does it exactly fit into all of those genres, right? You might be better off trying to stick in one of these genres. So maybe you do write a Christian mystery suspense with some action adventure in there. It might be better to use Christian as your primary genre and then include in your promo description, right, something a little bit. And I don't know what all the other Christian subgenres are, but if there's something better that better fits under that primary genre. Same thing would be for romance, right? Again, if you are writing fantasy and sci-fi romance, right? There is, do we have? Yep, exactly. So you'll notice under science fiction and fantasy, there is no science fiction and fantasy and then romance. It's romance first, right? So this is an example where you probably, if you're looking specifically for a romance science fiction promo, or that's what you're wanting to post and host, I would avoid adding in science fiction subgenres. Use the promo description to further narrow what you're looking for. Because the authors that have selected these under their promo settings are authors like me. And I don't write romance. And so I might join your promo and not know what's going on. And it's not going to be ideal for everybody. It might technically get more authors in your promo, but it's not going to be the best fit in other ways. So that's kind of the thing there, right? Yes. So that's a few examples. Now, your contact details, you can provide your name and contact email. This will be public. The authors will be able to see this, but you can put in here what you want. If you want to use your pen name, or you want to use your legal name, or maybe you want an assistant to be managing this for you, and you're going to put the assistant's name and put your assistant's email in here. That's fine, as long as there's somebody who's managing it. That's fine. That's totally fine to do that. Here. The promo dates, this is something that has changed recently. We've added some additional options here. So you used to have a promo start date and end date, which are pretty self-explanatory. The promo starts on this date, the promo ends on this date. But now we give you the option to start recruiting on a specific date and end recruiting on a specific date as well. This is helpful for a few things, right? You may have promos that are ongoing or that you repeat every month, and you want to have a certain amount of time to recruit for them. But really where this helps from organizers who post a lot of promos at once. In the past, BookFunnel has taken those promos once they're posted, and that's when we would push them out to authors with email notifications so that they could join them. Now we use this recruiting start date. So if you want the recruiting start date to be 3 months ahead of time, BookFunnel is going to wait until the promo has started recruiting to notify authors that the promo is there on the dashboard, right? And it won't be visible until then either. And so this can spread out those notifications that authors will receive based on their promo settings. It's just going to make it a more consistent way for them to kind of get that information. Instead of having, if you post 5 or 6 promos, this is what I do, right? I tend to post my promos for 6 months in advance or something like that. And because it's just easier to do all the work there at once in batches. But you might find that, you may want to start recruiting at different dates. Those notifications that authors will receive will be spread out instead of receiving them all at once, right? For like a promo that's going to start in 6 months. And so authors before would see this and be like, well, that promo starts 6 months from now. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to be going on then. And they might not be ready to join at that time. Requirements, you have a few options here. Note that any of these options that you select, you're not limited to this, but we do give you these as kind of default options. So you can require a minimum mailing list size. Maybe you want all your participants to have 10,000 readers on their mailing list, right? Do you have that option? Right? Now, again, I would suggest, right, not being too restrictive here. And in general, what I see is that this doesn't make too much of a difference. Readers, even who have a brand new list, you have no readers on their list, they're going to be growing their list and so forth as a part of participating in that promo. So unless you really need it, you don't necessarily have to even use this. I don't think that it makes the biggest difference, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. If there is a limited space in a promo, maybe you only want a certain number of slots for authors to join, you can set that here. You can automatically close submissions when it's filled, or you can leave it open so that authors can still find it and maybe request to join. Again, this is another thing where if you're casting a wide net, you'll want to think about this. You don't necessarily want to place a limit on a promo, because you might get a lot more participation from authors than you think, but there might be certain cases where this is useful, right? If you're looking for only 10 authors for something very specific, then it might be worth adding that limit. If authors are going to have to pay some money possibly to join your promo, right? What does that look like? Well, organizers should not expect to make an income from promos. That's not what we're talking about, but rather, if you are going to be organizing any sort of advertising for the promo, this is something that some organizers will do. So for example, everybody who joins might have to chip in $5 towards a Facebook ad or something like that. Checking this box will notify readers of that when they see the promo on the promos board. And you can also check a second box to say that, no, it's not a may, it's a must. It is mandatory in order to participate. And then you can collect those funds from them directly and make sure that you're obviously using them for what you said you're going to use them for. BookFunnel does not permit organizers to simply profit from the promos that they organize by collecting money from authors in that context. really the intended purpose of this is so that ads can be run that point to the promo that benefits everybody participating. Now, if you want to exclude erotica, you would check this box. If the promo is for erotica, do not check that box. Right? I think that should be pretty self-explanatory. Sexually suggestive book covers. Again, this is subjective, and so you'll probably want to include in the promo description what you mean by that, but you can check that box. If you want to exclude samples and excerpts or chapters or anything that's not a full book, you can check this box as well. If you want to know my opinion on this one, my opinion is let the samples in. That's my opinion from what I've seen. You get more authors participating. Some authors are really only in a position now. Maybe they only have one book out, so all they can offer is a sample. As long as it's very clear that it's a sample, readers are usually fine with it. So that's my recommendation, but it's your choice. And then the number of books to allow per pen name, the default is 2. But again, I err on kind of the, again, cast a wide net. In my opinion, 4 and above is what I like. 4 and above. In sales promos, I tend to allow more, just because people have, some authors have more. I guess what am I trying to say? More authors tend to have more books for sale than they do free that they can give away. So in a newsletter promo, if you made this limit too high, there'd be like 1 or 2 authors that had a whole bunch of free books they're giving away, and that's really going to clutter things. Whereas in a sales promo, lots of authors are going to have lots of books for sale. And then you can block authors that are flagged by BookFunnel. This is any author that has been in 20 or more promos with an average clicks of 10 or fewer. You do have the ability to also customize this block. So if you want to block authors who maybe you want to even be, perhaps a little more aggressive than this, right? You could bump this up a little bit if you wanted to, but again, kind of up to you. Again, I generally recommend around 20 and 10 is fine. It means that authors who haven't done 20 promos yet are still able to join, right? So people who are still figuring things out, even if their average is a little bit lower. And 10, the average number of clicks at 10, I think is pretty good. For sales promos, it might be kind of like right on the edge. Like if somebody's got 15 average clicks in sales promos and they've been in just a few promos, maybe they've been in 20. I think that's they're on the right track as long as their average is going up. All right, is what I would say. So a lot of this is subjective, right? And it will depend sometimes on genres and so forth too. But then you can also moderate authors. And these are the authors. This is the waiting room we were talking about earlier. So if I want any author who has been in, say, any number of promos, so they've been in at least one promo, and they have fewer than 10 clicks, let's say. This means that, well, the authors who have been in 20 with fewer than 10, they're not going to be able to get in at all. But the authors who have been in fewer than 20 with an average of 10 or less, they'll be able to join the waiting room, and then I can approve them or something like that. Typically, what you might want to do here actually is have this average number of clicks be just a little bit higher. I wouldn't be too worried about the people who are under 20 promos with 10, right? If this is a sales promo, I might want to do this something like 20, right? And so really I'm looking more to catch the authors. Actually, the authors are probably more like this, right? That are between 20 and 10 and 20 and 20, just to make sure that they're a good fit and they have a good recent share history. And right, what clicks have they gotten from their recent promos? And does it look like they've been, maybe they're on the uptrend, and maybe some of their past promos they didn't do as well, but they're getting more clicks now. And you can actually see that when you're organizing a promo as well. And then additional requirements. So you can, this is where you can add a Google form if you have additional requirements in a form that you want them to fill out. And then the description of the promo as well. You can add that here. Like I said, this is just the default that goes in here, but you can customize this with whatever information you want to provide. So there's quite a bit that you can add here. Now, before we go on, do we have any new questions at all? Emma and Kelly, do you know if we've got anything new? Or I guess you guys can't unmute.
Nope, no new questions.
Okay.
Look like
Very good. Very good. Now I want to see from here. I'm gonna have to do this as a. Oh, hey Kelly.
Hello.
Okay, I got you unmuted now too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't, you're not. You guys can't unmute yourselves. So yeah. Now, what I would want to show here. Let's actually see. I'm going to back out because I think I should have something on my dashboard. Whoa. Okay, that was more than. Yep, more scrolling than I was prepared to do.
I discovered that earlier.
Yes, I think I've got this one here. I don't think I have anything in there. This one's in the future. Okay. I think this should be a good example for what. Okay, good. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay. So this is a demo promo that's been on the dashboard for a while here. But it's way, way in the future. So I use it for these purposes. So a couple things you'll also notice here, right? We can close submissions if we decide that we're ready, we're done, right? It's all good. We can send an update. This will allow you to send a message to all the active participants in a promo. It will also update the promo description. Is it still doing that? I thought there was a point in time where it stopped and we did. Kelly, do you remember what I'm talking about? I think we dealt with that. Was it Kelly or Emma? I can't remember.
I don't
One time an update
know.
was being sent and it didn't get added. Anyway, it's supposed to get added to the promo description. And so it'll be there and it'll be
Oh,
discoverable.
that's been, I think that was adjusted after the
Okay.
big update. I think that was fixed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
it
see.
does
Yeah.
now put it down at the bottom.
Okay. And that's the way it's always been. So, and then you can also export data as well. Now you'll see here participating authors, right? We can see things like the title. We can see the author's contact information. If we click this, we could get their email to contact them, and then their recent reputation. If we click on this, it will actually take us to a page where we can view their promo history. This is just a demo, so there's no history there, but it would show you a list of all their promos with the number of clicks they got and so forth. Now you can also see here actively the number of clicks, views, and claims that the books have gotten. And it will, it's something where, like, for example, clicks are going to be the one you're really going to want to be concerned with. Views, this is not related to how much an author has shared. This is really just the number of readers who have clicked on their book cover. So it doesn't really have anything to do with whether or not the author has shared. And then claims, this is the number of times their book has been claimed and downloaded. Again, that has nothing to do with their participation in the promo. That really is just clicks, right? So how many clicks have they generated on their tracking link, right? You can also remove books here. If we go to remove a book from a promo, this is the form that comes up. And then we can select our reason for removing. If the author is not respecting requirements, this is where you would send like promo abuse or anything like that you think is kind of fishy or suspicious or what have you, or abusive. But there's a variety of other things too. So for example, this one, it's a minor issue. You just need to fix this thing, and you can describe it here, and then you can click remove link. It will remove it, and the author will get that message and can go from there. You can also remove the links and block them from submitting back to this same promo, or you can remove it and block them from joining your promos ever again in the future if you want to. You can edit your page details. We'll touch on that here in a moment, but you can also edit your promo details here just by clicking this. That'll take you back to the promos page, the details page right here that we were showing it briefly before. But if you edit the landing page, so if you edit your promo page details, this is where you can add a title to the page. You can upload a page header. You can change the layout. So if you want the book covers to be arranged in a certain way, this just means that the top featured book is going to be over here to the side with 2 columns of books or 3 columns of books, or the top featured book is going to be on its own up here. You can customize the page text that appears at the top of your promo, as well as coming soon and ended messages that will show up here. And then if you want to include social media sharing icons, something I recommend you do, it doesn't harm anything. Or if you want to include a countdown timer, it will count down the time remaining. You can check those options there. You can also then, there's not multiple books in this promo. Let me close out of this. And let's restore this book. So now that I have 2 books in the promo, if I go to edit the page details, whoops, there we go. I can scroll down here and I can actually rearrange these books. So if I want to rearrange them, I can. You can have them randomized if you want to, but you can also uncheck this. And if they are not randomized, they will show up in the order that you either manually put them in or the order they were submitted in. This can sometimes be nice because one author's books will all be next to each other in a promo. Readers will scroll all the way down to the very bottom of a promo. They will look through everything. And so it's not always something that you need to be worried about, right? But if you want to randomize them, you can. If you do have them randomized and you want a book featured, you can just check that box right there next to its name. Excuse me. Some additional things you can do now with a promo. This one's already been posted. We can duplicate it as well. So you can duplicate your promos, and this allows you to essentially copy them and then choose new dates. It will copy all of the settings, all of the other information that you had in there. And so you can duplicate it and schedule a new one for a different date. And we're not going to do that in this case because this is just a demo. But I think we will wrap things up there for today, folks, unless there's any other questions, or at least here on the dashboard, we'll wrap this part up. We still have a few of you here, so if you do have some questions, go ahead and ask those in the chat. And otherwise, we will kind of wrap things up here. But again, Kelly and Emma, again, thank you for being with BookFunnel for the past year. You guys have been great to work with. Yeah.
Can't believe it's already been a year.
I know. I hope I've been great to work with. I don't know.
Of course. This is the best job ever.
That's
what are you talking about?
That's what you have to say, right?
And I can genuinely tell you this, and I was waiting for someone to ask me. You are one of the best teachers I have encountered. You have a very organized mind, highly communicative, unlike me, scattered. And yeah, it's been a pleasure working with both of you. And Kelly, you're so sweet. I'm the curmudgeon of the group.
Oh, well, thank you, Emma. I appreciate that.
Promo for you.
I'm not going to address the curmudgeon part, but thank you for those for those nice words. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate. I love being here. This is my favorite job I've ever had in my entire life. I'm never leaving. So
yeah. Janice in the chat says, thanks so much for the meeting. I love attending and learning new things. Glad to have you here, Janice. I'm glad that you find this helpful. I know today was a bit of a small group. Totally fine. Again, probably the fact that the bulletin didn't go out with some of the personal matters I had to deal with that got in the way there, but all good. I will let everybody know I will be going on vacation. I think I mentioned that earlier. So there will be no webinars for the next couple of weeks. We will be returning in July, and there will be plenty of announcements going on about that. So you will hear about it. If you were on the bulletin, you will find out. It'll all be there. All that information will be there for you to find and stumble upon. So don't worry about it. That's one thing I have to do before I go on vacation is get all of July's webinars finalized and get that stuff ready. There's also going to be some.
Are you going to tease us with the topics? What's coming in?
Well, I know everybody's been asking about that, welcome sequence one. I don't know about that one. We'll see. No, that's probably going to be one of them. Is how to craft a welcome sequence. There's also going to be I'm pretty sure on the date here. I guess we just got to pull the trigger on this, but we're going to be doing an interview with a fairly prominent BookFunnel author. Damon's going to be doing this as a kind of a live Q&A webinar with that author, and we're going to be talking about the effectiveness of Facebook ads pointed at BookFunnel landing pages. There's some fun data to talk about, and so that's going to be coming up in July as well. We've also got a blog post for that coming out and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, so I will be gone for this second half of June, but I will be returning, and I've got some other ideas I'm bouncing around in my head for webinars, and I want to have some good, fun, exciting topics to come back with. And so definitely welcome sequences. That's definitely going to be at the top of the list. And then got to figure out what else I'm going to do there. But if you have suggestions, you can always email us, email support@bookfunnel.com, or email me directly, jack@bookfunnel.com. And I'll take your suggestions, and I get some really good ones. And sometimes it's not always a suggestion that becomes an entire webinar, but maybe it becomes part of a webinar. But it's also just good to know what people are wanting to know, or really where you feel like you could know more, right? Where maybe you feel like your knowledge could be expanded. So that's, if you have any inkling on that at all, let us know, because that's where we can help you guys out. So we'll wrap things up here for today. Thank you, folks, for joining us. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you found this helpful, and we will see you all next time. I'll see you guys in July. It'll be a while, but until then, take care and have a good one. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.